bipolar disorder, narcissistic disorder, narcissism, narcissistic traits. Well, what is that? What is that? Such a big problem because it's coming up. I want to educate the people that are actually listening to me. Welcome back here to Gallagher's Grip. We are coming to you live yet with another episode from the Gallagher's Grip studio here in the lovely south side of Chicago, where we try so hard to bring up topics, speak about things that affect the American people, no matter what you think or believe in. This is Daniel Gallagher with Gallagher's Grip. And ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to be speaking about something that has been coming across our platforms over the last 30 days, so much that it has forced us to actually look into to do an episode based upon this particular topic: bipolar disorder and bipolar narcissistic disorder, narcissism, narcissistic traits. Well, what is that? You know, you see a lot of people, you listen to a lot of guys, you listen to a lot of girls. Well, God, she's bipolar, he's bipolar. They're narcissistic. Well, what is that? What does that mean? And why is it such a big problem? Because it's coming up so many times in our inboxes asking this show to do an episode on bipolar narcissism, bipolar disorder, etc., that I'm taking it upon myself, and I'm going to do a lot of reading here because I want to educate the people that are actually listening to me that maybe do not have a lot of time to do this themselves. I will do an overview of bipolarism and what it means. I'll also do an overview of somebody who has a narcissistic trait to them. And I want you to hear me clearly. Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder marked by extreme highs and extreme lows, while narcissistic personality disorder, otherwise referred to as MPD, is a personality disorder characterized by an inflated sense of self-importance, a need for admiration, and a lack of empathy. When both of those come together, that being bipolar disorder and narcissistic personality disorder, holy cow is really what it should say, but it says when both occur together, the overlap can intensify symptoms, making relationship, self-image, and emotional regulation incredibly challenging. Right. We know that. I've got some experience with bipolar narcissism in folks that I know that are close to me, and it is a whirlwind. It is a roller coaster that goes off the rails at the highest level. To give you an analogy, it's so crazy that if you put yourself on the swing set at Six Flags Great America, hypothetically, it's that ride that goes all the way up to the top, and everybody's on the top swinging and swinging and swinging with big old smiles, but every single one of those swings come loose, and you see people flying all over the place. It is uncontrollable, it's indescribable, and it is a horrific, and I will repeat that, a horrific thing for anybody to have to deal with or go through. Bipolar disorder, the core features, alternating episodes of manic, right? Elevated moods, high energy, being impulsive, and depressive, or going into a state of depression. Sadness, hopelessness, fatigue. The impact disrupts sleep at a high level, judgment, work, and, of course, relationships. There are two types of bipolar. There's type 1, which is a full manic, and there's bipolar 2, which is a hypermanic with depression, okay? And the treatment is for somebody who is a true bipolar, okay, who's been to a doctor. The treatment is lifelong management with medications such as mood stabilizers, antipsychotics, antidepressants, and then psychotherapy for type 2. Look, folks, I understand life is hard. People go through stuff at the highest levels, at the lowest levels. I mean, certainly we can all agree that life life is hard, and if life is hard, or if you find yourself in a position where you are all over the place, perhaps it is a good decision to go see a doctor. That's my point. Maybe it's time for you to go see a doctor if you do feel what I just read out loud. Moving on. Narcissistic personality disorder, otherwise MPD. The core features are persistent grandiosity, entitlement, and a need for admiration, and a lack of empathy. Now, oh boy, I've got a few people in my circle. I know a lot of people, and some people that I know that may have this trait. I don't think I've ever actually heard that person say, "I'm sorry." Not once, ladies and gentlemen. I've never heard them say, "I'm sorry." I've never heard them say, "It's my fault." And I'll tell you one thing. I have never heard or seen them, these folks, wake up in the morning happy and smiling and looking forward to moving forward at a positive level on the day. I certainly have not. Going back to narcissistic personality disorder, the hidden vulnerability. Despite outward confidence, individuals often struggle with fragile self-esteem and are highly sensitive to criticism. You ever make a comment to somebody that you think may have this particular problem, and they just go off the deep end and they start going crazy? They start screaming at you, and all of a sudden you're looking at yourself like, did I say something that wrong? Did I say something that bad? Hello? Is this real? Is this really happening? Been around a bunch, and I can honestly say this is all factual. The treatment, of course, for narcissistic personality disorder is psychotherapy, medications that can actually help with depression and anxiety. I want to continue to read this so you can get a really great idea. Bipolar disorder, which used to be called manic depressive illness or manic depression, is a mental disorder characterized by wide mood swings from highs to extreme lows. The experts' view of bipolar disorder will continue to evolve, but it is now commonly divided into two subtypes, as we said earlier, bipolar 1 and bipolar 2, based upon the dividing line between, being absolutely manic and hyper manic. The person becomes very active, but in a scattered, unproductive way, sometimes with painful or embarrassing consequences. Now, somebody that's bipolar or narcissistic, or put the two together, wow, somebody that has those two traits. See, the scare, ladies and gentlemen, is that a lot of times these folks, from what I'm reading, what I'm learning, and certainly what I've experienced over my lifetime, is that they don't realize they have it, or they do know and they don't want to admit it due to embarrassment, and they certainly do not want any medication or treatment to get them to calm down, so the lives of the people that are around them can actually be much better. Oh, no. These people, for the most part, are like a runaway train. They do not care who they hit, hurt, harm. They do not care how they make somebody feel. What they care about is themselves only. Nothing else matters. End of story. And when it comes to their kids, I'll even go as far as saying, from what I'm seeing out there, that a lot of times they don't care about their children. They want to make sure that they're self-serving, 100% self-serving. It's about me. What about me? When are we going to go? I want this. I want that, etc., etc. If you find yourself in a relationship, whether it be a personal relationship or a friendship relationship, and you are around somebody that has these kinds of traits, run. And I mean, don't run. I mean, run as fast as you can. I mean, run equal to the scene in the movie Forrest Gump when he gets that football and they tell him to run and he just keeps on running, and that man never stops. Run for your life. Now, you may think I'm being funny, but I'm not. When I say run for your life, do you realize what kind of life This one life that we live on this planet, do you realize what kind of life that you will ultimately have if you find yourself with a personality disorder such as this? Now, there are certain levels. I get that, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking about the global idea of having bipolar and or narcissistic disorder, which we have concluded is a mental disorder, needs to be, you need medication for the disorder. You need to go see a doctor, and you need to be, you need help. You need help. And for those of you listening out here who may or may not have this, if you agree or don't agree with what I am saying, you need help, because so many people I know are around folks like this. It's everywhere now. I don't know what's going on. I have no idea what the difference is, from the past until now, but I can assure you that it is absolutely here. It's all over the place, and it creates nothing but hell on earth for the man and or woman who is dealing with the person that actually does have this. It is one of the worst things that I think I have ever seen or witnessed in my life. Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder involving extreme mood swings. You ever sit around with somebody and you're talking about something and it's no big deal, and nobody's, you're not talking about something to spark an argument or a physical altercation. You're just talking about something, okay? And the person you're talking with or somebody around you overhears or hears something, and they go off the deep end, and you can't understand why that person went off the deep end. That is bipolar. I mean, screaming at the top of their lungs. And when they scream and you take a step back and you listen to them, per my research and my witnessing in real life, they don't make any sense. None of them make any sense when they start to lose their cool and go off the deep end. Take it easy, pull the reins back, slow that horsey down and take your medication. You hear a lot of people say, take your meds, she's off the meds, he's off the meds. Well, it's real. It's real. Ladies and gentlemen, this is real. And I've got a friend of mine who I would categorize as bipolar narcissist. And this person is completely out of control to the point where it is affecting their relationship that he has with this person and their children at a level that I've never seen before. But yet this person won't get medication. They won't go in and see a doctor. They won't actually take the time to identify the fact that they may or may not have a problem, and they do want to accept help because they know if they accept the help, it'll ultimately help, in this case, their children, their relationship, and their lives. Their lives. Yeah, it's a very serious disorder, and you do need to go see a doctor. Now, I'm not professing I'm a professional, within this arena. Again, I speak about all different kinds of topics. If you know me and watch me, and these topics I like to speak about, whether political, non-political, or topics that affect human beings in their day-to-day life. That's what I like to talk about. Bipolar people, narcissistic people who always need to have the limelight on them. That affects you. And it also affects the kids. Could you imagine actually having such a disorder to the point where you go about your day, nobody brings it up to you, nobody talks to you, you don't take any medication whatsoever, but yet you're raising children, and your children see you and your actions to be normal. How you act and what you do, it's normal to an innocent child who doesn't know any better, doesn't know one way or another. It's normal. But here you are, going off the deep end for no reason whatsoever, not going to see a doctor, not taking that next step to level yourself out, like an alcoholic, like a drug dealer. Look, do you know how much respect people have for somebody who actually says, I was an alcoholic and now I'm sober? Do you realize how hard it is to become sober? Do you realize how hard it is to quit smoking? Do you realize how hard it is to stop doing drugs? I mean, life is hard, ladies and gentlemen. Do you realize how hard it is to stop those vices that bring you some level of peace and sanity, at least, in your mind? I mean, wow. right? Wow. To have somebody sit there and say, I believe I have a problem. I need to go see a doctor because something just doesn't feel right. Something's not right. Others are telling me that I'm go off the deep end quick. The bipolar narcissistic disorder. It's real, right? And I think that I would have so much more respect for somebody if they went and got that identified and started taking medication for it, because you realize how that would change that person's lives and all the lives of the people around that person that may or may not have to deal with that person on a day-to-day basis. It's real. It's very, very real. Medications, mood stabilizers. You've got antidepressants. You've got psychotherapy for cognitive behavioral therapy. You've got interpersonal and social rhyme therapy, family-focused therapy. And you've got a lifestyle change that would revolve around consistent sleep and routine, stress management, avoiding alcohol and drugs, and regular exercise. Well, that kind of goes for everybody, doesn't it? That absolutely goes for everybody. Look, if you're with somebody that has a problem, it's not rocket science. If you actually tell your spouse to look out the window, there's a bird flying, and the person looks out the window, they break the window with their hands, they look at you and start screaming and throwing things at you while you're driving down the road in a car, I would say to my fellow Americans, you have a problem. Houston, we have a problem here. Very real, very scary. And so many millions of American citizens are living with somebody that actually has a bipolar narcissistic disorder. And whether it becomes overlooked is one thing, but to be with somebody that has that mental illness is something that I can't even describe to you in real world. I'm sure it's got to be absolutely horrible and absolutely terrible. For those of you who are listening, ask yourself, and I'm not talking about stress. I'm not talking about an abundance of stress where your spouse loses it and starts screaming because of whatever issue may be. Okay. Maybe the person that you're with got into an accident. Maybe the person you're with went through some serious, traumatizing scenarios as a young child. There's reasons that people are who they are. They experience things as a young person, and depending on what they experience as a young person, really shapes and molds them to who they ultimately become as a young adult and a grown adult. It's the life experiences that people go through that make them who they are, that builds character. And a lot of times it's a very good thing. A lot of times it's a very bad thing. It's life. But again, going back to bipolar disorder, narcissistic disorder, it is a mental disorder. And people do need to go see a doctor, because I can promise you this, ladies and gentlemen, I can promise you this. I would ultimately say this is one of the worst disorders out there that a man and or a woman can deal with. Because have you ever come home? Let me give you this analogy. Have you ever pulled into your driveway and you sit there for an extra couple of minutes because you're wondering what the hell you are going to walk into? You're wondering if the person that you believe may or may not have these two particular disorders is going to be in a great mood or in a terrible mood. Are you walking on eggshells when you get home? Are you walking on broken glass when you get home? Do you have to watch every single word you say in fear that that person is going to go off the deep end and just ruin everything for that morning, afternoon, or evening? Because if you are doing those things, welcome to being with and or living with a person that has bipolar disorder, narcissistic, narcissism disorder, and somebody who needs to seek immediate mental health. Oh, come on, Daniel, for crying out loud. Why? Why would you do this? Why would you say this? Why? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've got a lot of friends that are around folks that deal with this, and you should see how it affects their lives. You should see see what it does to him or her. You should see what it does to the children. And even to take it a step forward, you should see that when they're out in public, you should see how people don't want to be around them. Somebody that has true bipolar disorder at the high level and mixed with narcissistic disorder, nobody wants to be around them. The truth is nobody wants to talk to them, be around them. And if they have to talk to them or be around them, it's because they have to. If they had the decision to make as to whether or not they want to converse with this particular person or not, the answer is always going to be no. But if they have to, if it's a brother or a sister, a husband or a wife or somebody that's very close to you and you have to, good luck. Good luck, because it's absolutely terrible. Folks, if you find yourself living with somebody that you feel has a bipolar narcissistic disorder, and I'm not talking about being funny here. I'm talking about real world. I'm talking about not just saying, oh, yeah, my wife, my husband, my brother, my blah, 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 has got narcissistic, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm talking about real. If you find yourself in a situation where you are with a person like that, you need to do something. You need to do something. Don't you dare just take it. Don't you dare just be sympathetic to somebody that has such an illness that they choose not to get help for, and they continue to make your life a living hell. Do not just take it. Do not take it. The second that they open up their mouths, if it's something negative or derogatory towards you, because that's the trait. That's the actual trait, okay? You need to do something. Speak up immediately. You don't hold back for 1 second. Make your spouse go get some help. They don't want to get help, make them go get help again. They don't want to get help, make them go get help again. They don't want to get help, divorce them. Move on. You would be better off and happier, more than you could possibly imagine, than coming home to your house, walking on eggshells, and trying to actually think through the sentences or words that you're going to say openly in your house that you live in with the person that you believe may or may not have these disorders. Have them get help. Again, life is not easy. Many people need help. Many people need treatment. Many people need medications to move on and move forward in life. It's life, right? It's something to not be ashamed of. Make him or her get help. Do it again and again and again and again until they choose not to. And if they choose not to, then it's time for you to make the hard decision to walk away and get away from that level of diagnosed lunacy.